Guys, today we're going to talk about variables and expressions, and the I can statement we're working on is I can use substitution to evaluate algebraic expressions. So let's just do a quick review. A numerical expression is one you've been doing ever since you were probably in kindergarten, and it's just a math problem that involves only numbers. So here are some examples. And we solve numerical expressions using the order of operations. An algebraic expression is a math problem that involves some numbers, some symbols, but also variables. So in place of numbers, you will see letters, and here are some examples. And we can find the values of an expression by doing something called substitution, which we'll talk about in a few seconds here. Before we do that, there's a couple of words we need to go over. The first is the word coefficient, and that's a number that we use to multiply a variable, and it's always shown as the number that comes right before a variable with no symbol in between. So for example, if I had a coefficient of 7, I could write an expression 7n, which means 7 times n. Now, in order to do that, I would have to know what n is, and then I can multiply. More on that later. For some more examples, coefficient of 3 for an expression like 3m, 12 for 12x, 9 for 9y, 10 for 10z. And again, I don't put the multiplication symbol in between. The coefficient would be those numbers that I use to multiply by whatever value I put in for the variable. If I have a number that is not right in front of a variable and it's separated by a plus or minus sign, it would be called a constant. So a constant is any number that remains, it's going to remain the same. We're going to see that in just a second, but it's any number that is being added or subtracted to a variable. So we don't know how much it's worth because we don't know what n is worth. But the nice thing about an algebraic expression is you can plug in any number for the variable. So if n was worth 1, then I would plug in where I see n in the expression, I would put in a 1, rewrite the expression, 1 plus 5, the value is 6. If n was worth 2, I would put n, instead of n plus 5, I would put 2 plus 5 to find the value of 7. If n is worth 3, I can substitute 3 in for n and say 3 plus 5, which is 8. And I can do this forever and ever and ever. But n is called the variable because it can change or vary. I can make it whatever I want. But 5 in this situation would be the constant because it stays the same. And we know that when things stay constant, they don't change. So let's do some evaluating. We're going to evaluate each expression, and I have given you the values for a, b, and c. So for all of these, we're going to use wherever we see an a, we're going to put in 2. Wherever we see a b, we're going to put in 3. And wherever we see a c, we're going to put in 4. So let's look at number 1, is 2a plus 2b. I'm going to first substitute a and b, so it'll look like this. I put 2 in for a, and I put that 3 in for b. So 2 times 2 plus 2 times 3, well, that would be 4 plus 6, which is 10. For number 2, I have all variables, but that's okay. That just means I multiply a times b times c, or 2 times 3 times 4. I substitute in those values, then I evaluate, meaning I find the value of this expression. So 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 4 is 24. With 3, b squared minus c, I plug in 3 for b, 4 for c, 3 squared is 9, minus 4, I get 5. Go ahead and pause the video, do 4 and 5 in the work section of your WSQ, and then hit play. Okay, let's see how you did. For number 4, your first step is to substitute the values for a, b, and c. Then we use the order of operations to solve it. And you should have gotten 30. Because right in here, this means we are multiplying. So we would do 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 2 plus 4 is 6, or times 2 plus 4 is 6, and 5 times 6 is 30. And for 5, I would substitute the values I was given for A, B, and C. And I work out the top, 6 times 4, which is 24. And then the bottom, 2 times 3, which is 6. So really I have 24 over 6. And 24 divided by 6 is 4. Okay, we are done with this video. You can go back and watch any portion as many times as you want to, but don't forget WSQ in your notes. And don't forget to do at least 2 problems from both the skill practice and the problem solving practice on the unit guide.